is targeted support required for Jewish students on campus? And that question has not been answered by the witness yet.
We do have plenty of time, so let's try and take a breath. But with that feedback, Professor Scott, if you could respond.
I think I would have thought it's inherent in the answer that I've already given that Jewish staff and students express concern. Many of these initiatives that we implemented were in response to issues that they have raised, that we then investigated and we then responded to.
And one of the things that you put in place was, I believe you said, security escorts?
Well, the availability of security escorts. Can I say that for many years, even since I was a student, we've run security buses and other sort of support, but we did say that if anyone was concerned about their safety or there were any issues involved that they felt they needed security support for, then that would be available. Now, that I must make it clear.
Can I just ask you a specific question about that? Would that mean that if a Jewish student felt unsafe walking past the encampment on the way to lectures, a security escort would be available to assist them?
What it would mean, without getting into specifics of it, this was a service that was not just available for Jewish students, but any students. And many of the issues that I've outlined about concern...
Would any student who felt unsafe walking past the encampment be able to ask for a security escort so that they would feel safe walking to class?
Well, I believe that they would be able to talk with our security, and if that was a feeling of some support that they needed, then I hope our security team would engage around that if necessary.
But you can't tell me that that's what...
Perhaps I could just jump in and add here. We did actually circulate the security contact number to students broadly, and we did encourage them if they felt unsafe on campus, and that arose in specific relation to engagement with Jewish community, Jewish staff and Jewish students who reported feeling unsafe, a condition that we could well empathise with.
Thank you both, but I don't believe the question has been answered. Could a student... What does a security escort mean? Does it mean that a student who felt unsafe could be escorted to class?
It could mean that, yes.
And did it mean that?
Well, I don't have the precise detail of that engagement there. It's a service.
Now you'll understand my frustration, Professor Scott, because you tell me that this is what you're putting in place for to support students. You acknowledge need targeted support in these circumstances, yet most of what you said is communications. And when I ask about a specific example, you don't know the details of that specific example. And if I could perhaps ask another question, if, as a woman, I felt that there was a climate of sexual violence on the campus, do you think it would be a sufficient response to a climate of sexual violence to say, we'll provide you with security escorts to walk past the predators?
Perhaps I could answer this question as a woman.
Oh, here's a point of order.
It's just an inherently speculative, rhetorical and provocative question that has no relevance to what is going on here.
Yeah.
It's comparing two things that frankly it's not useful to compare.
To the point of order, there are many ways in which students can feel unsafe. And
That's true.
Having been a female student myself, I know there are many times when one feels unsafe. And I also know that there have been issues with which the university has struggled in relation to sexual violence on campus. And I think it is directly comparable to say that at a time when a student feels unsafe because of culturally what's happening at the university, is the answer security escorts or is the answer broader than that?
To the point of order. This is obviously, as has been clear from the evidence, inevitably going to be a case-by-case basis. So to pose rhetorically whether persons fearful of sexual predation could expect a particular thing, as if that casts light on this question of the encampment and the response, it is a question designed not to garner relevant evidence, but to simply provoke. And it's out of order, I would suggest.
I couldn't disagree more strongly with your characterisation of that question.
I will rule on the point of order. I do think the question is provocative. I think that if there is information that needs to be, or that you were trying to seek in this, if you could be more direct with what the question is and the information that you're seeking, that would be helpful.
Do you believe that if students feel there's a climate of violence, Professor Scott, that the appropriate response is to provide somebody to walk them past their violence?
Well, let me start by answering that, and then the Provost may have some views as well. I think it is a very significant oversimplification of the detailed university response to the complexities we're dealing with to suggest that our only offering was a security escort. Security escort was available.
Excuse me, for clarification, I was not suggesting that was the only response. I was asking if that was an appropriate response.
Well, I'm saying that if our students felt that they would like a security escort, then of course the appropriate thing for us to do was to provide that. There were other things that students asked for. There were many other things that we acted on as a consequence of our engagement with students.
Perhaps we can
But
move
as-
on to something else
but
because we're
perhaps the
getting bogged in the
do you-
weeds.
do you want to-
No, if we could move on to something else.